Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
So a few years ago, the House passed a bill that would allow Puerto Rico to hold its first ever referendum on whether to become a state. But the Republicans in the Senate said, we got too many brown people here already. How about instead of statehood, we give you this? Trump's rally in New York was perhaps the most honest and transparent collection of hate we've seen yet, of which I will reluctantly show you here.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor. You know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
Now that guy's a comic like Trump Jr. is a Mensa.
On January 6th, I hope Trump comes. I'm gonna punch him out.
He's a racist, ignorant hump of some renown. He's known in comedy circles as Kill Tony, and there's no way that Trump and his posse of limp dick thrill seekers were unaware of what he was going to say, because the rest of the speakers, including the main guy in diapers, pretty much said the exact same.
She got 85 million votes because she's just so impressive. As the first Samoan, Malaysian, low IQ, former California prosecutor ever to be elected president.
This bow-tied little boy is as big a racist as we have.
White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax.
His attack on Harris is not a surprise, nor was his 180 on Trump after the insurrection. But of course, this emasculated joke of a man said this last week about Trump spanking his followers.
He loves his children, but he's very disappointed in their behavior. And when dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking.
That dude is f***ed up, but like the rest of these spineless, boot-licking Nazi youth who are using Trump and his racism to climb atop this burgeoning dumpster fire, these racists don't get it. America is f***ed up, but we're not that f***ed up.
We're like a garbage can.
Trump has spent the last 8 years trashing Latinos.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
And of course, attacking migrants looking to immigrate both legally and without documentation. But Trump gave up long ago simply attacking them for their border crossings. He amped it up with a racist tsunami, saying migrants will destroy our cities.
So when I return to the White House, we will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of our American suburbs.
Rape suburban housewives.
Women living in the suburbs. I keep hearing about the suburban woman doesn't like Trump. Well, I think it's a fake poll, because why would they like me? I keep the suburbs safe, and I'm keeping the illegal aliens away from the suburbs.
And of course, this.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Even CNBC's Squawk Box, not exactly a liberal enclave, sees what's going on here.
The Associated Press, Trump's Madison Square Garden event features crude and racist insults. That did happen. You may not have been the one making them, but that did happen.
And Becky just said it. The campaign has distanced themselves from it. They do not agree.
I understand.
I do not agree.
I have a question.
Unfortunately, it was said. But nobody agrees with that.
But I have a question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
And this is what I think. To the extent that there are folks who, by the way, may agree with the policies of Trump,
yes,
but don't want to vote for Trump, and those, some of those people. The reason that they don't want to vote for Trump is because they see, either in his character or the people who seem to support him, seem to be engaged in that or willing to engage in that, right? Because what you don't see, you don't go to other rallies for Harris or see in a Harris rally that kind of vitriol on that front. I'm just saying, to the extent that you can speak to those people who are out there watching, who say, you know what, I agree with the Trump policies, but I just can't abide by reading headlines like that.
In America today, and I don't, not to cut you off, but in America today, we have to decide Are we going to be trapped by the headlines of a media who, quite frankly, is in the tank?
One thing I have been, even the enemy, because they are the enemy, what they've said, even that enemy too, and they're really the enemy. They're the enemy of the people.
It was a great rally last night.
You can't invite a known racist to speak and then pretend you didn't know what he was going to say. Everyone knows this hack is a racist. He advertises himself as one. It's his thing.
I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Even MAGA Republicans like Rick Scott, who's also insane, attack the comic. But that's not the point. Trump's attacks on people of color is going to make a huge difference next week. And the fact that Trump obviously doesn't care tells you something. He's rallying his base and saying "F you" to the rest of the country.
They're rapists.
But consider this. Trump's attacks on Latinos, and especially Puerto Rico, have consequences. For example, take the swing states. There are more than 100,000 Puerto Ricans in North Carolina, 50,000 in Michigan, and Pennsylvania. There are more than 450,000 Puerto Ricans listening to Trump and his tucked-back posse of little boys spew their hate. Oh yeah, and there's 1 million Puerto Ricans in Florida.
What do you do with them? Are you going to deport them all?
Well, you're going to have to deport a lot of them. It's not sustainable. I had the best border we've ever had. Now we have the worst border probably in the history of the world.
If you challenge Donald Trump or his VP nominee, Vance, if you challenge them on, well, these concepts don't seem to make much sense and nobody really understands them and the economists tell you they're not going to work. If you challenge them, they'll fall back on one answer. It does not matter what it is, housing, healthcare, education, paying for the bills. One answer. Blame the immigrants.
We are a week away from what could arguably be the end of this country as we know it.
And very quickly, Daniel, is there any evidence, has there ever been any evidence that there is a large number of undocumented immigrants voting in federal elections?
No, this is a tiny, tiny problem. There is no evidence it has ever changed the outcome of any federal election in any state.
More often than not, it's a clerical error with the voter rolls. And if they did, this is the kind of crime that would be very, very easy to trace, which is why it doesn't really happen.
And it's already a felony. It's already a felony, so there are severe punishments for something with little reward for anyone who actually tries to do it, which is why it rarely happens.
He will, in no particular order, arrest his political enemies, attack protesters, and attack the media. You don't think Jeff Bezos backed down on some sort of principle, do you? He's afraid. And Diaper Donnie, as promised, will attempt to destroy our concept of civil rights, the 14th Amendment, and our economy by deporting 11 million people. They're gearing up for it. But it's not about reducing crime or making more jobs for white Americans. Come on. You really think deporting millions will create jobs for white suburban kids? You really think Barron Trump is going to be plucking dead fowl on a Mississippi chicken farm? No, this is simply about hate. And we have one chance to stem this putrid tide of Trump and his shit gaggle of white Proud Boys. I mean, how ironic would it be if it was Puerto Rico that brought down this pustulant skin tag? But there is an upside to this, Donnie. When you shit yourself, they can give you back your paper towels.
Damn right.
It's not fair.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Tick-tock, mother.
This is not a normal election.
Yes!
That is crazy.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
They're eating the dogs.
You're an idiot!
Trust me.
Shut the f*** up, Darren.
Who's with me?
Oh yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes!
Tick-tock,
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
It's not fair.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.